Welcome, my friends, to the Sage Quay Radio Hour, your home for free and critical thinking, and I'm your host, Mike Williams. This is part 2 of a recent interview I did with Jordan Maxwell. For this discussion, Jordan will talk to us about the system of commerce we reside in, what marriage really is, how the Vatican, led by the Jesuits, are the true controllers of the world, and he also offers his insights into Donald Trump. Jordan has 2 brand new DVDs out. The first is Revealing Ancient Mysteries, where Jordan puts to rest one of the great central mysteries of Christianity and sheds light on its beginnings and current-day incarnation. The second DVD is Cosmocrats, where after 50 years of extensive research, Jordan reveals the world's most powerful secret society and the symbol they use to control the world. Jordan's website is jordanmaxwellshow.com, and a highly recommended section of his website is Jordan's Research Society, where for $30 you receive a lifetime subscription giving you access to a plethora of Jordan's private research material. And so without further ado, here's Jordan Maxwell.
We think we understand commerce and business, and no, you don't understand commerce or business or the world you live in. Go to a library and get a law dictionary and look up the word commerce. Very simple. Well, that obviously means business. No, it doesn't. Go to a law library and get a law dictionary and look up what the law says is commerce. Commerce in a law dictionary is sex. That's what the law book says. It's a business, supply and demand. And so it's a business. This is why if you're going to get married, you have to have a license. Why? Because she is a business. And whatever you and her are doing is none of my business. Yeah. And so when I see you come out of a restaurant at 2 o'clock in the morning with some girl, and I say to you the next day, you know that girl I saw you with last night? Yeah, she's bad company. And you say, mind your own business.
Business, yeah.
Business?
Yeah.
Company? And then I find out you're going to get married and she's going to be your partner. What are those words? Partner, business, company.
Yep.
It's all because she is a company. I don't want to be in her company, but you're in her company, and that's your business, not my business, right? And who I'm in the company with at night and who I sleep with is none of your business. Business, company, partner. All right, so then you understand that commerce is sex. And therefore, if you're going to get married, you are considered a corporation by law. You are a business. But happily, I'm no part of your business, and you're not part of my business. But you are a business, and as a business, if I do business with you, now we have a business together. Now what you do with the money I gave you is my business because we're in business together. But normally what you do is none of my business, and it's none of your business what I do. So I'm just saying it's interesting the way our words and concepts work. We use these terms and never think about them and where they came from. And the reason why you have to have a marriage license is because she's a business and you're a business. And so you're going to, it's like Ford Motor Company is going to do a new project with General Electric or General Motors. And they're going to come together and they're going to make a new product. Well, that's fine. That's just business. But you better get a permit from the federal government because you're a corporation and there are corporate laws. You cannot do business with another corporation unless you talk to your legal department first and see what the cost is going to be and the taxes and who's going to pay them. And all of that's got to be taken care of by your legal department. You better get the lawyers in on this.
Yeah.
Because if you get married, she's your partner. And if she's a partner, and that means she's in business with you. And if the business doesn't work out, you're not going to talk to God. You're going to court. You better bring your money, your car, and your home, and your life. And then you're going to find out something most men don't know when they're getting married. It's a business. And your business failed. So you're going to find out it's just a business. She gets one half of everything.
Divorce is just breaking the contract.
That's right. That's right. Like the mafia says, it's nothing personal. It's just business. So once you understand the world you live in is really fascinating and interesting, but does not work the way you think it does. And that's why on my website, if you go to jordanmaxwellshow.com, jordanmaxwellshow.com, you will see on there a flyer, a note saying that I have another website that you can join. And it's called Research Website, Jordan Maxwell's Research Website. What that is, it's a separate website in which I am uploading, or my webmaster is uploading all of my research over the years, the pictures, documents, audio, visuals, articles, all kinds of research material that I've been looking at for years. I'm putting it on that website. But I have been told by lawyers, friends of mine, who have told me that there's a personal you and a private you, a personal private you, and then there is a public you, which is government. And so they told me, they said, if you go to a restaurant with 10 friends and you sit in the back of the restaurant and you talk about all kinds of stuff, calling other people names, using racist terms, using all kinds of terms and words about other people, as long as the people at your table don't mind, that they're all of the same mind and you're talking, that's private. Government has nothing to say about that. That's a private conversation between people having dinner, and it has nothing to do with the public whatsoever. Everybody at that table knew who they were with, and they agreed to be there. So whatever was said, nobody needs to nobody needs to be angry with it. You were there, you were sitting there having dinner, and what was said, that's just private. But if you go out on radio and use the same identical language, now that's different. Because government is empowered to protect the public. Government is there to protect the people. And so to protect the people from being offended and angry at the words that you were saying and the things you were saying, you can get in trouble with the government by going out and cursing other people, calling them names with a disparaging or really low language to call other people names. You can't do that in public. That's against the law, and you can be held responsible in public. And it can cost you a lot of money. You get sued by other people of a different race, a different color. And so there's two of you. There's the public you, and you better watch your mouth when you're in public. Or the private you. You can say anything. I don't care. And so I've been told that if you're going to talk about subjects, my lawyers have said, if you're going to talk about subjects that might get you in trouble, if you're going to show documents that government does not want you showing, then you need to keep it private. You need to go private. So this is what I've done. I have formed my public website, which is Jordan Maxwell Show, but I also have a private Jordan Maxwell Research Society. That's a website that has all of my research, and some of it might get me in trouble. Some of it, especially in one of the folders, is called Interesting Articles, where I've got articles that I have put on there that could get you in trouble. You're not supposed to know about. And so, but it's in private. I'm not putting it out in public. Government can't say anything to me. It's all private. But in order for it to be private, that means you have to join and show that you are a member of a private organization or a private group. So you join my research society. It only costs $30, one time, lifetime subscription, only once. lifetime subscription for $30 in which I am downloading and uploading all kinds of research materials that you probably have never heard anything about, all kinds of documents that could get you in trouble and get me in trouble. It's just an extraordinary amount of information that's been hidden that I am making public. But to protect myself, I put it into a private website. So nobody can say I'm going out public and saying things I'm not supposed to. So if you want to join my private research, it's called Research Society. So go on my Jordan Maxwell show and click on and join my Research Society. It's only $30 for a lifetime subscription. And I will guarantee you there's stuff on there you've never heard of.
Yeah, no, I belong to it. I spent the $30, and $30 for a lifetime membership is amazing.
Yeah, well, I'm putting 10 times what's on there. I'm putting 10 times that up as soon as my webman can do it. I mean, I have a webmaster, and he's a dear friend, very, very professional, really knows what he's doing. The website always works fine. Everyone's happy with it, and there's no problems with it. But he's very busy, so he can only put so much a day up on the website, but he's always adding something. And he makes a notation on the website. If there's something new, he'll tell you what he just put up and where it is that's new. So it's and like I said, if you've been there and you've seen it, how big it is, that's nothing compared to the 4,000 gigs I have that's still to go up on that website. I got 4,000 gigs of research materials on everything: books, ebooks, audio, video, documentation, articles on every kind of subject you can imagine. I'm fascinated with it. I want it all out there. I want people to see all kinds of stuff, but don't blame me if you get in trouble by republishing it.
Now, Jordan, I'm not trying to sound morbid here, but from a legacy perspective, and you have all this information up on your website, have you given any thought to how this will carry forward, when
I leave here?
Yeah, I'm trying to be tactful.
Yeah, being delicate. No, you don't have to be delicate with me. I know I'm not here forever. But my feeling is, because I've been around the world and I know how the world works. I know that people like Tesla, who was one of my favorite people in the world, Nikola Tesla. He did the best he could to download wisdom and knowledge and technology to the human family the best he could. He was ripped off, left for dead, and misused, but his name still rings in history as one of the great minds that helped the human family. That's kind of what I keep in mind for myself, because I've always wanted to be a teacher. I've always loved talking to people about things that they've never heard before. It's kind of a professional thing with me. I love talking to audiences and talking about subjects that I know is going to, catch their attention and see their eyes light up, and you can see when they finally get it, what I'm talking about. And it's kind of like a professional thing. I like that as a teacher, seeing people who are my students wake up and for the first time see something they never saw before, and then turn around and become better than me. They turn around and begin writing books about the subject and doing videos and doing all kinds of lectures and become far better than I am. But I just enjoy being able to, to help my fellow man. And so that's what I do. That's who I am, and that's what I'm doing, and that's why I do it. I want to give back to the world all of the wonderful things people have given to me, all of the great minds that I have been able to be in the company of. I've heard things that I've sat with some of the most important people on this planet and heard them talking in private. And I was privy to be there and listen. And I keep thinking to myself as I'm sitting there listening to them, My God, I wish I had a recording of this and have people hear what these guys are talking about, sitting next to the President of the United States and what they're talking about and the words they're using and how they're explaining what they're doing on a world scene. I wish to hell that people could hear what I have heard, because for the first time, it all begins to make sense to me. If you knew what was actually going on, if you knew what the agenda actually is, that has nothing to do politically or religiously or philosophically with anything you think is happening in the world, or the way you are viewing what America is doing around the world, or what you are thinking Russia is doing around the world, has got nothing to do with anything. Basically, you have no idea in the world who Putin really is, and who the Chinese government really is, and who's financing them. In fact, you have no idea in the world what's really going on up at the top in corporate business on Wall Street. You have no idea who these guys really are and what the game they're playing and how they're playing this game. So that's what I have learned, and that's why I try and do what I do. Teach people to think. Open your mind and realize the world is not what you think it is. Well, that's it. I think I've talked too much already.
I have one last question, Jordan, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, what are your thoughts on Trump? Is he the real deal? Is he really out to make change and turn things around, or is he part of the matrix?
I think that's a fair and intelligent question. I think that's a very good question, because I think what's happening is just my opinion. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
And, that doesn't mean much, but my opinion is I think he's the real deal. I think he really cares about our country. I think he cares about the people. And the reason why is because he is the only president in my lifetime of the 76 years I've been on this planet. He's the only president, in my opinion, that's ever had a damn job before he became president. All the other presidents have always been sucking on the tit of America and aggrandizing themselves with mafia money and corporate money and bloodshed and violence and corruption, and making lots of money and feathering their nests so that when they leave the presidency, they will have $10 million homes in the Alps or in the islands of the Caribbean and live like kings, like the James Bond movies. But Trump is the only guy that actually had a job and actually had built his own empire. I don't care if he had $1 million or so from his father. Well, yeah, whatever it was, $1 million or $2 million his father gave him. But look what he's done with it. And that tells me that because this man has built gambling casinos, hotels, resorts, golf courses all over the world, and especially on the East Coast from New York, New Jersey, down to Georgia, all of these gambling casinos, that tells me he has obviously had to do business with the mafia. Obviously, he's had to do business with some very serious, real and legitimate criminal elements who control construction, they control trash and garbage, they control cement industry, they control construction, the unions, and these guys are legitimate, scary people to deal with. Well, he's built hotels, casinos, and where there's gambling, there's mob. And so he has had to deal with some very powerful organizations, criminal organizations. No, they're not criminal, they're just business. They just run the company, whether you like it or not. But my point being is that he has obviously had to deal with some very powerful people around the world, organized crime, organized unions, etc. And has, even though dealing with those kind of people, he's still been able to build an empire with his name on it. And so that tells me how strong he is, how powerful a man he really is. Because I know I've sat with people like him, very powerful people, but listening to them and hearing the way they think is scary to me. It's actually frightening to me because it's so foreign to my nature. But when they're faced with very powerful secret societies, underworld organizations, professional people with contracts to kill them, they don't seem to care. They just go on and do what they're going to do. And they got their security, you got your security. So do whatever you're going to do. Give it a try. Myself, I'd be frightened to death of all of this dark power around you that wants you dead. And so therefore, I feel that Trump has proven himself to me. I don't care one way or the other. I'm apolitical. But he has proven to me that he can handle himself in big business, big government, big organized crime. I'd rather have him representing me with this corrupt world, because at least he knows what he's doing and he gets it done. And he doesn't meet like Obama and Bush and all the other guys at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning in some hideout with all the organized criminals of the world meeting behind the scenes and smoking their cigars and making deals and what country's going to this and who's going to die and who's going to live. No, he is in your face up front and does what he's going to do because he cares about this country, and he don't give a damn what you think about it. And so I think the reason why he looks at the world the way he does and the reason why he thinks of America the way he does is because he's got a big part in it. He knows how hard it is to build the empire he's built, and then to have people like Obama come in who's never actually ran anything, period, nothing, never had a job, never ran anything, don't know nothing about nothing, but just as kiss ass and go along with his masters to do whatever he's told to do, and going to rip off people with money and going to rip off people in America who have built something. So I think Trump knows the kind of people he's up against. The biggest criminals in the world. I mean, if you found out who Obama really is and where he actually came from and who these people we call presidents and governors and senators and congressmen, who they actually, in fact, really are, it will be frightening to you when you find out how corrupt and evil these people really are. But this is what the founding fathers of America already knew. They already knew what was coming. Then the people who founded this country were a lot of things, but stupid wasn't one of them. They knew exactly how corrupt real power at the top is. Why? Because all their life they have been watching the Vatican. And if there's ever been an organized crime syndicate on the earth, it is the Vatican. The Vatican is behind so much of the criminality in this world that would frighten you if you even begin to suspect what the Vatican really is and who the Pope really is and who's behind the Vatican. What does the Vatican represent? It doesn't represent itself as a holy organization of the Lord Jesus. It's a business. It's a corporation. It goes back 1,600 years to its founding as a corporation. It was founded as a business back in 1,600 years ago in 325 A.D. with the coming and the fall of the Roman Empire. When the Caesar's Rome began to totally collapse, the Vatican picked up all the accoutrements of power from Caesar and remolded it into a corporation, into a company. And it operated like the mafia. It operates like Caesar did. Just as Caesar ran the empire, so does the Holy Father run the world today. All of the drug running, the violence, the buying and selling of children, the buying and selling of humans, organized crime, mafia, all of this, all roads lead to Rome. So when you understand what the Roman Empire was really all about and who the Holy Father today really is and why the Pope before him had to quit and run and why and what the Vatican really represents in this country. And just remember, the Vatican runs America. It always has, it does now, and it always will. So when I hear people talking about the Jews do this and the Jews do that, I know better. The Vatican is the center for organized crime in America and around the world today.
Does it go up, Jordan, through the Jesuits?
Yep, through the Jesuit order. Through the Jesuit order.
Okay.
You know, I could talk with you all night because there's so many incredible things that people need to know. The most important church in this world for the Jesuits have their own church in Rome. It's called the Church of Jesu. G as in God. G-E-S-U. The Church of Jesu is the single most important primary church for the Jesuits in Rome. And if you go and look on the web at the Church of Jesu, you will find that there was a tapestry, a painting or a tapestry that was painted many, many years ago. But during the Second World War, that painting in the Church of Jesu was taken down. It was rolled up and put in the basement, never to be seen again. After the war, later on after the war, and Israel is finally set up, and the world has settled down after the Second World War, then the powers that be and the Jesuit establishment at the Church of Jesu went downstairs and got the tapestry and got this painting, this carpet painting, and brought it back up and now is re-established it in the church. So today you can go see this famous painting in the Church of Jesu, the painting that's in the most important church for the Jesuits. And that will blow your mind if you know what you're looking at. But most people can look at it for 4 days and never suspect what they're looking at. The picture that was just put up just recently back in the Church of Jesu, shows a picture of Jesus in heaven. And he's looking down on the earth, and there is the founder of the Jesuit order, Ignatius Loyola. Picture in the Church of Jesu shows a painting of Jesus in heaven looking down on the earth at Ignatius Loyola. And Jesus is handing Loyola a flag, a blood red flag, red, solid red flag. And Jesus is handing the solid red flag to Ignatius Loyola. That same identical red flag today is the flag of communist countries. It's a solid red flag. This is why the Jesuit Pope that is in there now, who is not an official Pope, he's merely representing the Pope that cut out and ran. He said, the Jesuit Pope that's in there today, said to a communist leader in Europe, it's on the news and pictures on the news about this guy from Europe, a communist leader, confronted the Jesuit Pope and gave him a present of a hammer and sickle with Jesus on it. And the Pope said he took that knowing it's a communist symbol with Jesus on it, and he said something to the effect that you communists have stole our flag. You communists stole our flag, is what the Pope said. Meaning that the red flag today that the Communist Party uses all over the world, the Pope even agreed and said that was stolen from the Jesuits. Well, in point of fact, no, they didn't steal the flag from the Jesuits. The Jesuits were the communists. And so they were using their flag that Ignatius Loyola was given to Ignatius Loyola from Jesus. That's what the picture in the Church of Jesus shows, Jesus handing a red flag, the red communist flag, to Ignatius Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits. And so today, all over the world, the Communist Party, and overthrowing governments and violence and revolutions around the world, the Communist, Marxist-Leninist, Soviet Communist Party is a Jesuit operation. And so they're using the Jesuit flag that Loyola got from Jesus. And that's why the Pope said to the communist leader in Eastern Europe, he said, you stole our flag. In point of fact, no, they did use your flag, but they used it because you gave it to them. They represent you. That's why they're using. That's why they're using the red flag of the Jesuits for the symbol of the Communist Party. So when you see Marxist, Leninist, Soviet Communist activity going on throughout the world, all of the horrible tragedies that have been brought on the human race by the Marxist, Leninist, communists in China, the beheading, the murders, the killing of people, all the stuff that the communist leaders in Russia, Stalin, Khrushchev, all of these murderous dictators, just remember they were put there, organized, and directed by the Catholic Church Jesuits. So the red flag of Marxist-Leninist communism is a Vatican symbol. So, my God, when you start doing research into how the world really works, you will find that there's far, far more darker and deeper than you ever suspected. Nothing is what you think it is. Zero. That's what I do. That's who I am. And that's why I get rant and rave and people calling me names and condemning me, calling me names. Why? Because they know that I am representing something they don't want to hear. Like the movie, when.
Right. With Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson, and he says to
Tom Cruise.
He says to Tom Cruise, "What are you badgering me for? What do you want?" And Cruise said, "I want the truth." And he said, "You can't handle the truth."
Yeah.
That's what the problem is today. People cannot handle the truth. They don't want to hear the real truth. The guy doesn't want to hear his girlfriend is cheating on him. The wife does not want to hear her husband is cheating on her. The children don't want to hear that the mother is a prostitute. People don't want to hear the truth. So when I was growing up as a kid, my household, I always remember my mom saying, there's two things that we don't want to talk about in company. We don't talk about it, and that's religion and politics. And, of course, the idea was we don't want to offend anybody. So we don't talk about religion and politics when we're with friends. I now know why we don't talk about religion and politics. Why? Because they're both the same thing. They're both corrupt and evil. They're tools in the hands of the Illuminati to rape and plunder the human race. They give us religion or politics. Because my family were in politics, And one thing I always remember hearing in my family is that there's never been a political movement in the world that wasn't a little religious. And there's never been a religious movement on the earth that wasn't a little political. So politics and religion is the left and right hand that's being guided by a brain in the middle. So somebody is guiding the destiny of the human race, both politically and religiously, and we're too stupid, arrogant, ignorant, and ill-informed and too pompous and arrogant to accept the fact that somebody far, far smarter than you'll ever be that's been manipulating the whole human race. And they're far superior to all of us. I don't care what college you've gone to or how smart you think you are. No, there's some real, legitimate, powerful people in this world, and I don't think they're human. They don't give a damn about the human race. So I think the world that we live in is far different than the world you think you live in. That's who I am, and that's what I do.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree, Jordan, that there's so much that people don't know. There's so much behind the curtain that they have no clue. And the thing is, most people don't want to have a clue. They're, like you said earlier, they're happy with their ball games and their beer and their porn and their drinking and everything else.
That's right.
You know?
It's true.
Sometimes I wonder what I'm doing here.
Yeah. And I know you've heard me say this, and other people hearing me now have heard me say this, but there may be people in the audience who haven't, and I think it bears witness to say it again, that in Europe, even before the Roman Empire ever existed in Europe, there was already an establishment of power in Europe. It was the area what we call the white man. The white man comes from Europe. And so the white man's establishment in Europe was called Druids. The Jewish priesthood in Judaism, the Jewish priesthood in Judaism is a Druidic priesthood. Look it up in the dictionary, Druids and Druidic priest and Druidic religion, and you will say, that's Judaism. So what we call Judaism is actually, not Judaism, it's Druidism. And one of the old Bibles I came across many years ago, everywhere that King David was spoken in the Bible, King David, it was King Druid, D-R-U-I-D, not D-A-V-I-D.
Okay.
Druid, King Druid, not King David. And then you find out that the Star of King David is a Jewish symbol for the planet Saturn. It's an extraordinary story. And when you get into the dark side of religion, and you find out how much the Jews, the Islamic, Muslims, the Catholics, Protestants, people around the world just do not know what's going on behind the scenes. And most people are not intellectually honest enough to look at the real truth and say, yep, you're right. It's corrupt. It's a lie. You find out Jesus never existed. Yeah. And you find out King Solomon, King David, and all the people in the Old Testament and the Bible never existed. There was no King Solomon. There was no King David. None of those ancient peoples actually existed. Then you find out that there's a lot of academic work being done today by Islamic scholars, especially in Europe, Islamic teachers and professors who are writing books about the fact that Muhammad never lived. There was no man named Muhammad who ever lived. It's just a story. I mean, that's what I always say about the Bible. It's the greatest story ever told. It's just a story. It's not the greatest collection of history.
Right.
It's the greatest story ever told. Why? Because the story is astrotheology. And that is a great story. You don't think so? Wait till you hear the greatest story ever told. Astrotheology. Don't get me on religion, because I can go for the next 8 hours on religion.
Well, I was going to say, you should come back. You should come back soon, and we can pick up.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, just to pick your brain and have you go through this stuff, Jordan. It's a real treat for me.
Well, I really appreciate people who appreciate my work. You know, it's a reciprocal thing. I know that so many people do not want to hear some old man babbling, about something, some old curmudgeon who's ranting and raving and babbling about something. But I don't consider my work to be the work of a babbling old man. I consider
Absolutely
it to be
not.
something of extraordinary importance. That's my view of myself and my work. Because once you understand words and terms and symbols and how governments work, how the police department actually works, what is a court, and how does insurance companies really work, and why are the insurance companies the bosses of all banks? Banks are merely representing insurance companies from Europe. It has to do with the 14th Amendment and the owning of your body, and your body is a human resource, and how your body as a stock on the New York Stock Exchange. People have no idea in the world the way the world really works. So once you begin to see it, and once you begin to first understand it, then you begin to appreciate, what I'm trying to do is to awaken people to how their world really works. And then you will find out that nothing is what you thought it was. We hear kids running around the world talking about racism. That's racist, and this is racist. They've never looked in a dictionary. Go to a law dictionary, look up the word race, and see what does that mean. It doesn't mean what you think it does. So you're calling somebody a racist, I would suggest you educate yourself first. Go get a dictionary and look up the word race and see what it really means by law. And look up the word commerce and see that it means sex. Look up the word Congress. America has its Congress. Yeah, look up the word Congress and see what it actually means in Latin, where it came from, what that word means. I'll tell you what it means. Congress is a word coming out of the Roman Empire. It's sex. Sex was referred to as Congress. There's co-ressing and then there's congressing. So it has to do with sex. So when I hear people saying, well, Congress is just screwing us, that's what the word means, stupid. Yeah. It has to do with sex. The word is Congress. Another word is commerce, which has to do with sex. It's a business. It's just an extraordinary life that we live, and how much we don't know. Anyway, I want to thank you for putting up with all my ranting and raving.
Not at all, Jordan. I find it very fascinating. So I'm very glad that we have the conversation, and we should get together again soon and talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, or pick up where we left off here. And I can get that scheduled.
I think that would be a great idea. And I've always been threatening what I'd like to do is do a whole series. It may be more than one show, a whole series on astral theology.
Yeah, that would be
the
great.
Hidden symbolism in the New Testament. What the New Testament was actually, in fact, telling you. It was hidden. We hear all these stories today on television and radio about the Bible codes, and we got movies like Da Vinci Code,
Right?
And Tom Hanks at the beginning of Da Vinci Code is at a seminar, and he's being introduced, and he's got a slide projector, and and this is in the movie. The Da Vinci Code. And he's introduced as a world-famous expert on occult secret symbols and secret societies. Who is that? And so that's what he's representing himself as an expert on secret societies and hidden symbols. And he goes up and he's got the screen, and he's got pictured on the screen secret symbols and emblems, and he's standing in front of the picture, so some of it's being reflected on him as he's standing in front of the screen. That's exactly what happened to me in my video called the basic slide presentation. I was introduced as an expert on secret societies and occult symbol. I go up on the platform, and I have the slide projector, and it's being bounced off of me also because I'm in front of the screen. And I'm just amazed how Hollywood has picked up on all of this. And today it's everywhere, all over the world. And now making movies and TV shows about the Knights Templars and the Illuminati and all the secret societies and all the secret stuff going on. Nobody knew anything about that when I was talking about it back in 1961, 62. In 63, when Kennedy was assassinated, I was giving lectures on secret societies and world religion and government. There was a lot of very important people who knew this message. I wasn't the first one. I was learning from others. It's just that I've been privileged to be able to, because I love talking. And so I was able to roam around the world and talk about these subjects. And happily, I'm not the one who came up with all of this information. I'm on the shoulders of great people who did all the searching. I'm a researcher, meaning do it again. And so I have gone back and looked at all the ancient records and all the hidden symbolism and words and terms and what they mean. And then I talk about it today publicly. And so people, celebrate me for doing that, and I appreciate the kindness, but I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything. I'm just telling you what I've read, what I've heard from famous people.
Yeah, what you've learned, yeah.
Yeah, I've just been in the company of people you have no idea in the world that I know. That you have no idea in the world who I know and where I have been. And I'm not about to tell you publicly. But I've learned a lot from some very serious, powerful people. And I've had some really interesting experience with those people, what they have told me in private, face to face. And so I know that, you need to keep your mouth shut in public and not talk about the things you're not supposed to talk about, because I know you can be hurt in this country today, in America, if you think you have freedom of speech. I don't think so.
No.
Like my friend Dick Gregory used to say, you telling me, a black man, about America, land of the free and home of the brave, you ain't free or brave. You just need to go get a job and shut up. And when you go get a job, the word job, J-O-B, comes from the Bible, the book of Job, J-O-B. Because Job had all kinds of horrible things happening to him, losing his family. And so today, all the horrible stuff that happens to you, it's on your job. You go to your job. Everybody hates going to their job. It's Job, not job.
Right, right.
And then when you read in the Bible, God is love. It doesn't say that. That's not what it says in Scripture. God is love. I don't know where they get it from. The actual word for love is Jove, J-O-V-E, Jove. God is Jove, not L-O-V-E, love. Because you see, L's and J's are interchangeable in the English language. During the Middle Ages, an L was a straight bottom, while the J was a little curvature bottom. And the encyclopedias and dictionaries will tell you that L's and J's were interchangeable. And so if you read some of the old stuff from the 1500s, they'll use a J when they're using a word that you know as L. Or they will use an L where the word is, is a J. So J's and L's were interchangeable. So when you say God is love, no, it's God is Jove. Jove was Jupiter. Jupiter.
Okay.
because God was Peter. And the old ancient Babylonian language, your father was Peter, or Peter. No, not Peter, Pater, P-A-T-E-R, or P-I-T-A-R, Peter. And so Jove, as God is Peter, or your father, so he becomes Jew, J-E-W, Jew, Peter, or Jupiter. And so Jupiter is the king of gods. Well, he still is the king of gods. The Jews still worship Jupiter today. Christians worship the planet Saturn, so did the Jews. Islam worships the moon. The moon god Allah is the same god as that's a whole story. I got a whole 5-hour story we could do one night on your radio show on Moses. The story about Moses is so big and so fascinating and so interesting that it would take us at least 3 hours for me to go through the story of Moses, who he was in fact, not who you thought he was, not who you were told he was, and where and what was the story behind the story of Moses. And Moses, you know, the Islamic peoples will tell you today that Allah is mentioned in the Bible, even in the Jewish Bible. Allah is there. As in, you know, so you have to look at that. The Old Testament of the Jews even mentions Allah as God. To which I say, of course Allah is mentioned in the Old Testament. Of course. You have to know why. Because Allah was a moon god. He represented the moon. And Moses was the leader of a lunar or moon cult. At one time, the people we call Hebrews today, they're not Hebrews. They speak a language that's called Phoenician. It's a Phoenician language. But we call the people who speak that Phoenician language, we call them Hebrews. So we, Gentiles who do not know what we're talking about, we say that so-and-so is a Hebrew, and he speaks the Hebrew language. No, there is no Hebrew language. It doesn't exist. There is a Phoenician language which the Hebrews speak. So we call that language Hebrew. No, it's not Hebrew. It's Phoenician. Get it right. In America, we here in America speak the American language. No, you don't. You speak English. You are American, but you speak English. So it's not the American language, it's the English language. Well, it's the same thing with the Hebrew people. They don't speak Hebrew. They are Hebrew, but they speak Phoenician. And so the Phoenician language we call Hebrew. So when you hear the rabbis and they're pontificating like the Pope, well, you know, it says in Hebrew, this is that, and in Hebrew it says, you know, wait a minute, there is no Hebrew language. I know you think we're stupid, and I know I look like a dummy, but I'm not stupid. I've been all over the world talking about this one subject, and I know what I'm talking about. There is no Hebrew language. There is a Phoenician language which the Hebrews speak, and we Gentiles call it Hebrew. But once you understand the Hebrew language, then you understand Moses was the leader or the main point of a lunar cult that came out of Egypt. They were moon worshippers, and they were the followers of Allah, and Allah being the moon god of the Arabs. But Moses was a leader of a moon cult. The so-called Hebrew people, God's chosen people, were actually worshipers of the moon. Today, this very day, Jews will tell you their calendar is a lunar calendar. Right. And their holy days are after 6 in the afternoon and the evening. After 6 o'clock, from 6 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock the next evening is their 24-hour day. Why? Because the moon comes out at 6 o'clock. The sun is gone, and the moon comes out at 6. So they are worshiping Allah or Yahweh. And in Phoenician language, Yahweh, Hebrew God. But in Arabic, it's Allah. So Allah is Yahweh. Yahweh is Allah. It's the same moon god. It's the Hebrews who worship the moon god or the Arabs who worship the moon god. It's still the moon god.
Very interesting.
And so from Egypt, if you're looking eastward, there's a huge mountain range in the middle of the Sinai, very high mountain range. And the people on this side, the west side of the Sinai, could look eastward. And every night, the moon came up from the mountain. So everybody knew the moon lives in the mountain. He lives in the mountain. Why? Because that's where he comes out. Every night he comes out. He wakes up and he's ready to go, so he comes out from the mountain. So he lives in the mountain. So he was called the Lord of the Mountain. And he was called Allah by the Arabs. But by the Phoenician language, he was called Yahweh. Same God. So today, the Hebrews have their holy days after sundown. Why after sundown? Because they don't want to have anything to do with the sun worshippers of Egypt. The sun worshippers were worshiping God's sun, the light of the world. But the Hebrews or the Phoenicians were worshiping the moon god, the lunar god. And so once you see the real story of Moses as the worship of a lunar Allah, well, of course in the Old Testament you're going to have Allah because it's the same God as Yahweh. So what I'm saying is that the Hebrews are worshiping the same God the Arabs are, and neither one of them have enough brains or intellectual honesty to admit it's a moon god. Yahweh, Allah, moon god, worshippers of the moon. Their calendar is even called a lunar calendar, not a solar calendar. And Christians wake up in the morning when the sun comes up, and that begins their day. Why? Because they're sun worshipers.
Right.
Their God is called God's Son.
Right.
And God's Son is the light of the world. Well, of course the sun is the light of the world. What the hell else lights the world if it's not the sun? So anyway, we can talk about religion for hours. All I'm saying is that religion in the world is not what you think it is. Christianity is not what you think it is. Judaism is not what you think it is. And Islam is really off the wall. Those people have no idea in the world where that stuff comes from. When you get into breaking down the words in the New Testament and the Old Testament and see where these ideas have come from, it'll blow your mind. It's absolutely astounding what the Bible is really saying. But we don't know. The preachers who are making money off of this, they have no idea in the world what I'm talking about. There's a set routine, and all they know is like you go to college. Well, you go to college to be a doctor or whatever. You go to college and university, and you read the script, and then you take a test. And if you pass the test, then you get a work permit. You can now become a doctor, and you can make a lot of money. Why? Well, why? Is because you learn what to kiss and how and who, and you learn what to say and what not to say, and what to do and what not to do. And if you master all of that and take your test, and if you pass your test, then you get a work permit. Now you can be a doctor and go to work. But when you're a kid in school, you have to take a test. Okay, and when you're a Christian, you are said to have giving testimonials, or the court has called you to testify. The word testify, testimonial, or as a kid taking his test. The word test or testimonial comes from testicle. That's where it comes from. Look it up in a dictionary. Because in the ancient Phoenician Canaanite system we call ancient Hebrew, there was no ancient Hebrew. And incidentally, there was no ancient Israel. But in the ancient systems in the Middle East, going back thousands of years, and it's still I think is being practiced today in Israel. The idea is that when you go into a court as a Jew, and you're going into court to fight an enemy who is also a Jew. So there are two Jews who are brothers in faith, but they're fighting each other in a court. The way it worked in the ancient world is that if you're going to go against your brother in the faith, when you are called upon by the judge to stand up and tell your side of the story, you must hold your testicles in your hand while you testify, because you're getting testy. And so therefore you're holding your testicles, which means, because that's the way it was done, because the symbolism in a court is that the court has you by the testicle. We say that. We say those
got
things,
you by the
right?
balls, yeah.
That's right. And why? It's because you were required to hold your testicles. Why? Because the symbolism is very simple. You as a Jew are going to go in and testify against your Jewish brother. You don't do that. Doctors do not testify against another doctor. Lawyers do not like testifying against another lawyer. People who are in a profession do not like testifying. Cops and police do not like testifying about another policeman. It's a fraternity. You don't testify against your brother. And so, therefore, you hold your testicles, which is symbolically saying, if this court finds you testifying and lying about your brother, if you're in here lying about him and we find out you're lying, just think about what we're going to do. You're holding your testicles? Yeah. But just remember that, because if we find you lying, guess what's going to happen? And so that's why today we are called by judges to testify with a testimonial. So people use words, they have no idea where they really come from. Again, the world is not what you think it is, and let's do it another time, another way.
And that concludes another Sage of Quay interview, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. Links to my guests' websites and social media are listed in the show notes below. And as always, I'd like to thank everyone for listening and visiting the blog. You can get to the blog by typing in sageofquayradio.blogspot.com or simply head over to our hub website at sageofquay.com. Also, if you get a moment, please visit laboroflovemusic.com to listen to my album, Leaving Dystopia. And remember, live in truth and always serve creation. It's really that simple. See everyone next week. Be safe, enjoy, and God bless.